have Rachel here. GM Rachel, welcome.
Good evening.
Yeah.
Yes, good evening. So you are just about starting and we are still expecting other people to join in, but we cannot keep the training on hold because of others that are here to join. So welcome, welcome, and welcome. So welcome to Web3 Fundamental class organized by Blockchain Labs. And the purpose of this training is to expose people to the Web3 opportunities and to let them understand how blockchain works, especially for beginners, people that are just getting started in this space. So without wasting much of our time, we are going to just run through a brief introduction. So, and just once you have the mic, just tell us your name and what you do. So yeah, let me just start from my head. All right, so my name is Tim Dokwe and I'm the team lead at Blockchain Labs. And yeah, so that's where we do so many of our trainings and all. So let me call on AY. Ayobami, please
Yeah.
can just introduce yourself.
Yeah. GM. My name is Ayobami Akindele, and I'm a research analyst at Blockchain Labs. So,
All right.
but,
All right. Good to have you. Good to have you. Thank you so much. So
thank you.
I'm also going to be calling on Sheyi.
Yeah, GM. My name is Shi, and I'm a tech lead for Blockchain Labs.
All right. Thank you so much. So like we used to say, most times when it comes to things that are going to be of great benefit to people's life, you see how people turn up and at the end of the day, people that are genuinely interested in increasing their human capacity will always take things extra serious. So let me officially declare this training open. So a very brief overview of this training is that it's going to be a 5-day training, and the first 4 days we are going to be looking at what blockchain is all about, especially in 2025, the opportunities in blockchain, and of course, we are going to be having practical sessions on how to understand how blockchain works, because everything you'll be doing in the blockchain space is practical. It is 100% practical. And one key thing is this has to do with your finance. At least 99% of your interaction as a person in the blockchain space will have to do with finance, your digital assets. And it's very important you know what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. So today is our day one, and we are officially starting. And I'm going to be taking today's session. So, and in a few seconds now, I'm going to be sharing my screen so that we can get started right away. All right. I hope you all can see my screen.
Oh, yeah, you can see your screen here for me.
All right. So thank you very much. Let me. Okay. So welcome to blockchain in 2025. One key thing is everywhere you go, or if you're a person that has been coming across the term blockchain, it is normal that you will definitely be confused, especially if you're a beginner, someone that is just getting started. You know, you've always been hearing about blockchain from your friends, or you've probably come across the blockchain keywords online, or you've probably been at some events and maybe a particular speaker was saying one or two things about trending technologies, and the person was so particular about blockchain. So that is why we are organizing this Web3 fundamental class, so that we can break down what blockchain is and why it is very, very important, and why it has been important over the last 10 years, and why it is also going to be important in coming years. So this is still 2025. People have made a lot of life-changing opportunities. They've leveraged on opportunities to make their life better in this blockchain space. But one thing is important. Before we start talking about blockchain, what led to blockchain? Why is blockchain important? And why are people so much interested? Why is even government so much interested? Because all over the world now, governments are very, very interested in the blockchain space, especially about the technology. And now they can also use the technology to make life easier and better for their citizens. So if government is interested in this technology, then why are we citizens also interested? Okay, so we are going to be breaking this down. And before we go to that, let's quickly look at something. Like I was saying initially, I said this is 2025, right? You've been hearing about the term blockchain, blockchain, blockchain. But I know there's one deep question that you have in mind, which is the question of where do I stand? How do I come in? Why should I come into the blockchain space? Those are very, very, very key and important questions. Okay, so it is important that you understand where you stand in the space. This is 2025. This is an era. An age where we are living a 100% globalized era, where with your phone you can have access to plethora of informations. We now have AI that once you just text or send a text to the AI, you get access to so many and many and many and many information. So the question for you is, where do I stand in this whole scheme of blockchain? Am I an absolute beginner? Have I been in the space for a while? Even if I've been in the space for a while, what have I been making? Okay, if I've not been making anything, why have I not been making anything in the blockchain space? So these questions are very important. And if you're a beginner, you need to even pay extra attention to some of the things that we are going to be breaking down going forward. So it is very, very important that if you are coming to this space, you must understand where you stand. If you know where you stand, then you can now look at the kind of information that you need to probably, amplify your skills, to increase your human capacity so that you can make something out of the blockchain space, so that you can leverage in the opportunities that is in the blockchain space. It is very important to answer the question of where do you stand. I know you may not be able to answer it now, but I can assure you that by the end of this 5 days training, you'll be able to know that this is where I stand and this is what I have been able to learn from blockchain and how I can stay positioned. So let's move on. All right, ladies and gentlemen, without wasting much time, let's get started. So, but before we move or before we go deeper, it is very important that you understand that this is a 5-day training, 4 days for practical, and then the last day is for certification. And before you can be certified, before you get your certificate, which you can always add as part of your profile, to look for jobs in the Web3 space and all, it is important that you meet up with at least 80% of the attendance. You must meet up with at least 80% of the attendance. And then we are going to be running some practical sessions. There will be tasks. There will be some assignment that you need to do so that we will know that you are actually understanding what we are going to be showing you and what we've trained you on so far. So please be prepared. This is going to be practical. This is not just theory. This is going to be a practical Web3 fundamental course. So prepare your mind and let's go. All right. Blockchain. Let's put blockchain on one side. Let's even understand the evolution of internet. Okay, because if you don't understand how internet works, you will not understand how significant blockchain is and how significant it is going to be in coming years. Okay. Some of you, I don't know how old you are, but let's go back to the early days. I'm pretty sure some of you probably remember the days of um Yahoo Mail, when people will have to go to cafe, cyber cafe, to send email to their friends, or to probably log in into their Facebook account, because then there were no mobile phones, or even the few mobile phones that were available then, they were very, very expensive. So most of the stuff that we're doing online had to be done, through what's it called? Computer, sending emails and all. And then if you also want to interact with things online, then you would definitely have to go to a cyber cafe to read. Now, when you go to a cyber cafe, right, you buy time. Sometimes you used to buy like 15 minutes, 20 minutes, so that you can, check whatever it is you want to check online, right? And then if you want to read about stuff, maybe you want to read about some educational materials, you go to these cafes, you read about them, and once your time has been exhausted, you leave or you either pay them. But what I'm driving out here is that those era, that particular time, if you compare it to now, you will discover that it was completely different. Those era, very few people had access to, personal computers. The few ones that had access to it, they were using it to run businesses, right? And then the few things that people were doing online then were just to just send email messages and then to just read one or two things. It was like very few people were taking advantage of that. So that particular era is what we called stage one of the internet, where everything we were doing then was just to interact, just to read, send email. We're not really doing heavy stuff. We're not doing things that are very, very interesting, right? Even when you read some stuff or some blogs, right, you cannot comment, you cannot share, you cannot like, you cannot retweet, you cannot requote. You understand? You cannot do so many of those things. It was just like the basic era of internet. That is what we know as stage one of internet. We call it Web 1.0. It was just an era where we were doing basic things online. All right. So now that we understand that there was a time, though some of the people that are just coming up that are young now, they will not know those times, right? But some of us that are very old, at least would still understand and remember those days. Even if you cannot remember, I'm pretty sure you have some people around you that could share or would have probably shared some of those experiences, right? So we had that era, but that was in the past. Now let's move on. Let's move on and let's see what is happening now. Now, we are in an era of Web 2.0. This is an era where everything is easy, right? You can easily sign up on Facebook. You can sign up on Facebook. You can upload your images. You can like other people's images. You can comment. You can go on Instagram. You can drop a comment. You can retweet. You can like. You can go on Twitter. You can quote. You can like. You can share. You can do so many things. This is the era of Web 2, where everything that we consume online is controlled by centralized authority. Okay, now remember in 1.0 we had very few things to interact with. Now we have so many things. It is so bad now that if you are not the type that is very disciplined, if you go to some platforms or some applications, like let's say for TikTok now, and you just say, let me just spend 2 or 3 minutes on TikTok. If you're not very careful, you find out that you're already on TikTok and you've spent more than 2 hours. You've spent more than 2 hours. That is to tell you that we have so many things to consume out there now. And that is the beauty of Web 2. Now, when you go online, you yourself, you have the option of creating content apart from consuming content. You can create, you can also share other people's content. Those are the beauty of Web 2 that we are now. The same thing applies to our applications too. Remember in those days, very few banks had mobile application. If you want to withdraw, you have to go and use check in the Web 1.0 that I was talking about earlier. If you want to do anything financial, you have to go to bank. People were carrying around big checkbook. Maybe some of us, if you look If you check around, you will see some of maybe other big checkbook that they used to go to the bank. You have to write check before they can withdraw your money. Now, just with your phone, you can download your bank's mobile app, log in, perform transactions, buy stores, pay for things online and all that. Even your mobile banking app can hold millions of naira. That is to tell you that we are now in an era where things are easier, right? Things are better and things are faster, both in the entertainment sector, in the football, in anything you can ever think of. We have a lot of things to consume on the internet today. So, but there is a problem. Yes, there is a big, very big problem. And the problem is this. Now, if you are the type that maybe what you put online is not what the government likes or is not what some people like, they can report your account and they can pull down your account. We've had similar cases of people saying they were blocked, their account was restricted on Instagram, on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, without really doing anything serious, right? It is because at any point in time, as much as you are using those platforms, you do not own what you put on those platforms. If tomorrow now, Facebook decides that for one reason or the other, they don't like your face again on their app, they can restrict your account and you will not be able to access it again. That means everything you've created, all the memories that you've uploaded, friends that you've connected with, content that you've uploaded are gone. Same goes for either YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, just name it, any of these Web2 applications, right? Because everything you put there is not owned by you. It is owned by the platform. Now, we now have a solution. And that solution is what we call blockchain. And that is where blockchain comes in as stage 3. We call it Web 3.0. Now, remember I said we have Web 2 now. Web 3 is not new. At least if you look at since when blockchain has been, identified and noticed, it's been more than 10 years now, right? But it is still growing. It is still emerging. It's still coming up. That's why most people are not yet fully into it. But the smart ones that understand these things are already taking advantage of it and they're already positioning themselves. Okay. So Israel, GM, let me just take a quick break to welcome you. Israel, if you can unmute your mic, you can say hi. Oh, I think Israel cannot hear me, but let's continue. So now we are in the era of Web 3.0, okay? And that is what powers Web.
Sorry, I was having a so good. Good evening, everybody.
Yeah, good evening. Welcome.
Hello,
Welcome.
good evening, everybody.
Yeah, we can hear you. Good to have you. All right, so let's just continue.
Okay.
All right, so
Okay.
now
Okay.
we've talked about 1.0, we've talked about 2.0. We are now in 3.0. And one of the things that makes Web3 or blockchain interesting and why you can see so many people, coming in, leveraging the opportunities in the space is that they have been able to identify the key importance of Web 3.0, the key importance of blockchain technology. Okay, now people are now seeing the real truth. They are now seeing that Web 2.0 is not reliable, is not where you can 100% trust because of some certain reasons that I'm going to be breaking down. Okay, now what is Web 3.0? Web 3.0 technology or internet is where everything you put online, you have a choice. Everything you put online, you control it, right? Everything you put online, there is no central authority that can say, okay, because I don't like your face, I'm going to be shutting down your data. It's not possible. Now, what makes everything that I'm saying interesting for the blockchain in the Web 3.0 is what we call blockchain technology. Okay, now let's look at the financial ecosystem. If tomorrow now, maybe we've all heard of instances where they will say someone or maybe FCC shut down some people's accounts, or CBN, your bank restricted you from transacting in your bank account because they got a notification from EFCC or from CBN for one thing or the other, and you will not be able to transfer or access your account. They place your account on linear. That means everything in that your account is on hold. Even if you are in an emergency situation that you need access to your own money that you toiled day and night for, they will tell you that you don't have access to it because you don't have 100% over your money or your assets. The government or the financial institution through the government still controls your assets. Okay, but in the blockchain space, you have an option. You have that freedom to keep your assets where you like it and how you like it. That is why some people, the Bitcoin that they've bought or the digital assets, Ethereum that they've bought years ago, they can still have access to it till today. They can still trace the first time they bought that coin. Tomorrow now, if you go to your bank that you want to have access to so and so, you may have difficulty because they will tell you that give us some days for them to pull up your record. Imagine some of those banks that they've been sold or they've been matched. It may be difficult for the owners of those that had accounts in those previous banks to go there and request for their financial information. They may have to tell them that due to this, that, and that, they will not be able to provide it. But in the blockchain space, there's nothing like that. You have a freedom. You have an option. So now we've talked about the evolution of the internet. We've had 1.0 when things were not interesting. Now we are in 2.0 where things are easy, smarter, and faster. But we are also in 3.0 that is now starting. Not just today, but if you look at it, it's been happening over the last 10 years. You know, lives have been improved, life has been better than now. People are now interested in blockchain, right? So now let's look at why that blockchain is now very important. So we've got to the stage where we start asking ourselves some very important questions. And the first question is, what is blockchain? So when you hear the term blockchain, I don't want you to be scared. I just want you to relax. You know, it's not that deep. We discover that at the end of the day, or at the end of this course, at the end of this five-day course, you will discover that it is not that difficult. Even when you hear your friends talking about it, you'll be like, me too, now I know what you are talking about. I understand. We can do it like this. Okay, which chain are you interacting with? Is it Ethereum? Is it Solana? You understand? Okay, let me send you my wallet address. Don't make mistake. Is it BEP? Is it ERC20 token? All these things, we are going to be breaking them down one after the other. Okay, but let's start with the definition of blockchain technology. Okay, now when you hear the term blockchain, what it simply means is just that it is a digital ledger technology. Let me give you an example. If you've heard of people that do a job, or some of you probably do a job, you understand, you know, these thrifts that people do, right? When they do these things, okay, there's always this agreement that within so period of time, we must all agree to contribute so amount, and then so person will get a certain amount on a monthly or weekly or quarterly basis. And then if you don't meet up with the agreement, these are the penalties. Okay, these things are now going to be written down offline, right? Especially when you look at all those cooperatives that they have offices, that they are even registered. They always, if you go there, if you're a member, they will tick your attendance, they will tick the amount you are bringing in on a monthly or weekly basis. Everything will be written down in a physical book. right, in a physical book, so that everything will be clear. There will be no mistake or ambiguity. Okay. Now, just imagine that same thing, that same book now being brought online with the same agreement that me and you, we are going to be doing so and so thing within so and so time. Okay. And then these are going to be the penalties if any of us default or fail to meet up with the initial agreement. So now imagine that there is now this same record online on the internet that you can access through your computer, through your mobile phones, or any through your digital devices. That is what the first thing means. It is a decentralized digital ledger technology. Now, let's look at the second one. It now says it records transactions across multiple computers. Just pay attention. Oh. Now, in that same meeting that you go for, that cooperative meeting, right? They will note that so person has paid this week, right? Now, do you know that if that book that they are using to note all those transactions for that particular contribution, that shift, if that book should get lost, and there is no backup for that book, do you know that it can create problem? Because no matter how smart the cooperative leadership is, if there is no physical record that they can use to trace when a particular person joined, how much the person has paid, there'll be problem, there'll be confusion. Okay. Now, how many copies of that book can they create? Are they going to be duplicating it in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? No, it's not possible. No matter how many copies they create, there's still a problem of it getting lost or getting burnt or something happening to it. Okay. Now, in the blockchain space, every transaction, remember we said that it is being brought online, right? Every transaction you do, now imagine it is online now, right? But imagine it that you yourself, you have a copy of that transaction. Another person has a copy of that transaction. Another person has a copy of that transaction. As many people as your cooperative wants it can have a copy of that transaction. Which means that if any of us decides to leave tomorrow and say, okay, I'm no longer part of this cooperative, it does not affect the copy that every one of us have. That's one. Number two, let's say the copy that I have with me, let's say that is on my computer or on my phone. I made a copy of that transaction, right? That is on my computer, that is on my phone. Maybe for one reason or the other, my computer got lost or got damaged, and for a very long time, I may not have access to that computer. But because you have it, another person has it, so many other people has it, the transaction flows continues on chain. Everything still continues on chain, regardless of who has the copy or not, because blockchain allow you to have as many records of transaction as possible across different computer systems. Now, one other interesting thing is this. Do you know that our cooperative, people outside our cooperative can also have access to it if you want them to have access to it? Even someone that is not within the country, we can also allow that person to have access to it. Remember, it is still online. Everything is now digital, right? They can have access to it if they meet up with the requirement that we set. Okay, those are the advantages of blockchain technology. So that even if one copy or 10 copies of that document or transaction, a record of that transaction gets lost, millions of other records are still available for us to trace that so and so person contributed so and so amount at so and so period. So there will be no issue, there will be no misunderstanding, there will be no arguments. So you can see the importance of blockchain. Okay. Now, let's look at the last thing. Okay. Blockchain ensures security, transparency, and immutability. Let me start from security. Remember, I said if by any reason we bring our digital ledger, our digital records of our thrifts on chain into blockchain space, right? We can limit those that will have access to it. Do we want only people within our cooperative to have access to it, or people outside? That's one. Number two, before a person can have access to the record, there are some certain requirements that they must meet before their computer can have access and start joining our records and being able to record our transactions. Not everybody can do this thing, right? Not because they cannot do it, but because not everybody will have the resources to do it. We can make it open. That's why some blockchains are private, some blockchains are public. But for most of you, what you'll be interacting with, what you'll be doing are going to be more of public blockchain, okay? Where things are still more open than private. Private blockchain, you can set up your own private blockchain if you have the resources and the tools. Not everyone will be able to join, okay? Now, the security aspect of blockchain is it is very difficult to hack. How do I mean? That record of transaction of our thrift that all of us has, okay? Nobody can just wake up and say, okay, when I joined this thrift in the first month, I contributed maybe 2 million naira or maybe 100,000 naira. Now, because I have access to the records of transaction, I can record transaction on chain just like any other person that will give access to, and I want to increase or manipulate the initial record of 100K that I deposited to maybe 100 million. It is not possible. The programming language of blockchain will not allow you to do that. And that is why, if you know, there have been several instances that we used to hear of in the news that they will say a bank official of a commercial bank, you know, because the person has access to the back end of the system, has made some illegal withdrawals. In fact, I don't want to mention the bank name, but we've heard of a recent one where they are still looking for the bank staff that ran away with millions of naira of people's deposits in the bank. You understand? Those are security issues that you cannot have on blockchain. Or even if it's going to happen, it is extremely difficult and takes some high level of, you understand? There is a high level of security in the blockchain space if properly done, okay, depending on the blockchain network. Okay, so now let's look at transparency. I like this one. I 100% like this one, and I'm telling you, you are going to definitely enjoy it. A simple example is this. Bitcoin is more than 10 years, right? Since Bitcoin network went live, it's been more than 10 years. But as I'm telling you now, I am telling you now that we can go on chain, go to Bitcoin Explorer, and get to see the first Bitcoin transaction that was made 10 years ago. We will see everything there, live and direct, and we don't need anybody's permission. If you know how much your bank, you can't even know self. It's not possible. You cannot know how much CBN is printing or is minting of naira that CBN is minting. You cannot know. But in the blockchain space, you can see the first transaction from day one, and you don't need anybody's permission. All you just have to do yourself is go to the blockchain explorer, select the next first transaction on Bitcoin you want to know. If it's the first transaction on Ethereum you want to know, everything is there, transparent, 100%. That is the transparency that blockchain gives us. Even in your own wallet, By the time you start sending assets, maybe you are sending digital assets to your friend, maybe you are sending USDT or any digital asset or NFT to your friend, you can scan your own wallet and know when was the last time you made a transaction, the exact time you made that transaction, the amount of the transaction you made, when it was confirmed, right? Who confirmed it? You will see everything. That is the transparency. There's no hidden space. Sorry, let me take a minute to drink water. So, like I was saying, that is the transparency. Before I go further, please, if you can hear me, I just need you to unmute your mic and just say something so that I will look like I'm talking to myself.
Oh yeah, keep firing, boss. Keep firing.
All right, thank you, Wayne. Okay, all right, let me just continue. So that is the transparency. You can see everything from day one, and we are going to be checking out all these things. There is going to be physical demonstration of these things that I'm talking about. We'll check the first transaction on blockchain on Bitcoin to know it. You cannot know the first transaction that has ever been made by the CBN. It's not possible. They will not tell you. And that is why we don't know how much our government is minting. There's no public records. But even the ones they tell us, how do we verify? And what you don't verify, there can be no accountability. And this is why government even needs blockchain. Because when they integrate everything that has to do with government on chain, we the citizens will be able to track, we'll know how much is being spent, maybe at the federal government level, at the state level, or at local government level. So you can see that blockchain integration is not just limited to individuals alone. It is also important for the government if they are ready to take the right steps and integrate key important things into blockchain. In fact, another way that blockchain helps is that, let's say, we've always been having the issue of age verification. Some people will tell you that they are 25 years of age, whereas they are already more than 40 years. But they can just go to any court, sign affidavits, and then put any age that they want. Some people can even get even the official documentation, from anywhere. So there is no way to really verify the true age of people. Some people don't even know their age. The only thing they know is what they tell them. They never had the opportunity to have an official record. But if the government can integrate blockchain, the first day a baby is born, right, an hospital should be able to go on chain, go into their blockchain. There should be a database that is fully on chain, integrated blockchain, input it. Because once they input it, the date does not change again. Nobody will be able to edit that age. Nobody will be able to edit that time. It is on record that so person was born so period at so time. And that is what brings us to the last thing here, which is called immutability. Immutability means the ability not to be able to manipulate data. And that is why I'm very particular about this immutability. If we have proper record of when people were born, right? People that are already more than the age that they are supposed to be in service, they will not be in service because we'll be able to see their record. Some people are already over 60 or 65, as the case may be, but they are still in the government service, working when they are supposed to have retired. And they'll be backdating their data, but there's no way you can verify or check. But with blockchain, if the day they were born was recorded on chain, 20 years to this time, we'll be able to verify that, sir, you were born at so and so period, or ma, you were born at so and so period. This is the place you were born. This is the official record from the clinic or hospital that you were born. These are the people that signed it, which means you are officially at so age. You are not supposed to be enjoying so and so thing, or you are supposed to have retired from so and so thing. It's going to help. It's going to bring accountability. It's going to bring proper management of resources into the society. So you can see how big blockchain space or blockchain technology is to everyone, not just for individuals, but also for the government. Okay, so that is why this technology is important. That is why people, even in the legal space, blockchain can help. You can draft an agreement with someone and then put it on chain. That is why serious government all over the world, they are creating special agency or departments to look into this blockchain technology, how they can use it, how they can leverage on it. So let's move on. Now, when you hear blockchain, a lot of things happens in the background, and it's very important to just have an overview. Remember when I said, imagine you have a local thrift, what they call a job, where people come together, they contribute amount of money, and it is being recorded, right? Now, those transactions, those record, let's imagine now it is online, okay? It is being recorded somewhere. Immediately, so person made a transaction or deposited an amount of money or did something in that community. That record is being put online. But who are those people that are putting them online? It can be yourself, myself, or any other person. Because, like I said, see it as a place where anybody can join, especially for public blockchain. I can join, you can join. That's one. Number two is when we transact within one another, that transaction is being recorded on chain by what we call nodes. Nodes are just computer. Just don't even stress yourself. Don't overwork your brain or anything. They are just normal, they are computers, but they are not normal computers. It was only in the early days when the network was still fresh, especially for Bitcoin, when things were not that complex, that you can use your normal computer to run nodes and get rewards. Okay. But now you need advanced computer. You cannot use normal laptop, you cannot use normal desktop. You need expensive computers. And that takes me back to what I said earlier, that although the space is open for everyone to join, but very few people can join. Why? Because to record transactions on chain, you need dedicated computers. And these computers are not cheap. They are in hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's one. Number two, those computers, they must always be online 24/7, which means you need internet. You need stable internet. Stable internet. And then, of course, you now need power. You need electricity. So that is why even if you have the money, that's why in Nigeria, very few people, I think there are some guys on Twitter that they run nodes in Nigeria, but they are not relying on government lights or electricity. They have their own backup. I've forgotten their Twitter handle, but one of these days, if I remember, I'm going to tag them so that we can just check out some of the works that they do. Okay? Are you very much with me?
Yes, 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 I'm with you.
All right. So those nodes are expensive to run and to maintain. So that is why even in Nigeria, it might be difficult to run it, because even if you have money to buy those machines to run nodes, you need stable light and stable power. Now, those nodes, when we send transactions between one another, they are the one that will record it and keep a copy of each transaction. If you remember, if you are not lost, I said every transaction that we record, as far as I'm part of the network, I have my node, my computer on the network. I have a copy of it. If your computer is also part of the network, you have a copy of it. If another person has access to the network and they have their computer connected, they have a copy of it, which means if my computer is down tomorrow, your own copy will keep the computer running. Your node will keep the system running. Another person's node, if your own node is down tomorrow for one reason or the other, another person's node will keep it running. So there can never be a downtime. There can never be a time where they will say the transaction you are trying to send, network error. You know, we used to have network error in our banking apps, that sometimes you will send money to someone, 3 days, the person will not see it. 7 days, the person will not see it. In the blockchain space, even if there are going to be delays, you will see the stages of that delay and what is causing that delay. And if there are going to be ever be any delay, it's going to be minimal. Most times the only few period I've ever experienced some form of delay is when there is a spike in the network and maybe your transaction fee is low and you need to increase it. But just understand that nodes are computer that you can set up if you have the resources. I can set up if I have the resources. So let's say, for instance, now on the Bitcoin network now, okay, I can set up my node if I have the machines that can join the Bitcoin network. If you have the money to buy those machines, you can join. You don't need anybody's permission. Right from your home, if you have the devices, light, and power, you are free to join. Okay, now there is a big reason, there's a big question. Why should you join Bitcoin network and run a node to be storing people's transaction history? Especially when what you need to set up is expensive to buy and to maintain. The answer is simple. For every transaction that you have a record or a transaction that you approve, there is what we call transaction fee and miner fee. Just look at it this way. When you send money from your bank, let's say you want to send money from your mobile app now, from your bank to my own bank, right? You know that by the time you are sending that money, let's say you are sending 50,000 naira, they will tell you that you must include your transaction fee. In fact, they will not even tell you. They will put it there automatically that this is the transaction fee. That transaction fee, who is taking it? It's not yours. It is your bank that is taking it, and my bank too. They will now split it among themselves, that out of the transaction fee that you sent, the money that you sent to me, the transaction fee, this is my own cut as bank, this cut as their own bank. Okay? And then, of course, the government will take their own tax from it. So everybody will take something out of your transaction fee. So the same thing applies to computer nodes that we run for any chain, any blockchain network. As you are sending digital assets, there is a transaction fee that is attached to it. And that transaction fee will be collected by the first computer to process that transaction. Now, in the early days, even till now, on the Bitcoin network, every block, there's an amount of Bitcoin that is being mined by a computer node that runs a transaction fee first. I think if I'm not mistaken, that should be 3 point something now. If I'm not mistaken, I don't have the correct number now. Now imagine your computer is part of the network, and your computer is the first computer to push that transaction fee, and you are getting 3.5 Bitcoin as your reward, as your fee. In the early days, Bitcoin was 0. Now, 1 Bitcoin is over $100,000. Do you know what that means? If your computer, let me take it again, if your node network is the first to push and process some form of transactions, there is a fee that you get. It is there, it is programmed. Regardless of where you are in the world, it is automatically being sent to your computer wallet. You can do whatever you want with it. You can go and sell it. Just imagine this thing was able to push that transaction. That is serious money. That is over $100,000. That is for Bitcoin. So you can now see how significant and why those machines are expensive. Because imagine if in an hour you're able to run through 3 or 4 transactions and you get your miner fee. Okay, that means in 1 hour you are able to get maybe like 3 or 4 Bitcoin. What am I saying? Maybe approximately like 10 Bitcoin. That's massive money. Now remember, there is a clause to it. Number one clause is that these machines are expensive. That is why not everyone will be able to buy them, even though anyone can join the network. To buy them and to maintain them are difficult. That's one. Number two, excuse me, when you are processing those transactions and you want to be the first person, you want your node or your computer to be the first to process those transactions so that you can get the miner fee, right? You are not the only one. Everybody is competing. It is like a race. So the first computer or node to process that batch of transaction, right, gets the reward. So that is why you must have the right setup, the right machine to compete. It's just like someone that wants to do probably video editing now. You are using a laptop of 2009 to do video editing in 2025. It's not possible because anybody that has a latest laptop of maybe 2024, 25, 22, or some higher advanced laptop can process a video of 1 hour in less than 10 minutes. But you are coming with a laptop of 2009. Why that person has processed in less than 10 minutes? You may be processing that same video for, if you are not very careful, maybe 7 days. If you are not very careful, you may process it for 7 days because the technology is different. It has advanced. That's why even our phones today, you cannot compare a phone of 2025 with a phone that they made or those old phones, or you understand, technology wise. So when people are competing to be the first to process a transaction and get miner fee, they buy expensive setup. You can just Google mining machine and see how expensive they are. These are devices that are worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. But if you set it up right and you have the resources to stay online and maintain things, then trust me, you have a high chance of getting good reward in the Bitcoin network. Now, one thing you should also notice, cryptography, right? Cryptography is like the extra programming features that protects the entire blockchain technology. It's called 256 bits secure hash algorithm. It might be a bit technical and all that, but just know that that is why it is extremely difficult for Bitcoin data or most network data to be nice. All right, Rachel, you ask question after the class. After the class, there'll be enough time to ask questions. Trust me. So now, cryptography using 256 SAH gives blockchain technology better security and data integrity. So that is why government cannot just say they want to hack your data. That is why government are even more interested in the blockchain technology, because this thing is strong. Let me use that word. It's very strong, like literally strong. Okay, literally strong. All right. So before we move on, another thing to note is called blocks. Okay. You remember the analogy of the thrift that I told you earlier? Every thrift that you see offline, all those transactions that you see, that you note down, that okay, so person has joined our thrift and the person has dropped so amount of money for this month. Team B or Mr. and Mrs. has also dropped so amount of money this month. Okay, everything is being put on chain in block. There is what we call batching. So maybe transaction of 5 now. It can be some blockchain can say our own is transaction of 5. Some people can say our own transaction is transaction of 3. Okay, so before I move on, I want you to know that this is like the fundamental for blockchain. Now, each network, because there are different chains, have their own modification of this. So sometimes when you see some network, you see their own block takes 5 minutes to process. Some blockchain, their own block takes 1 minute to process. Don't be shocked, don't be surprised. But we need to understand this fundamental first. We need to understand this fundamental first, that what makes blockchain work are 3 things: the block that holds every transaction that we make, the nodes that processes all the transaction and get their own reward, and then cryptography that ensure that every transaction we do is secure and safe. So let's move on. So like I was saying, transactions are grouped in blocks. So it can be my transaction, your transaction now, and any other transaction can be in one block. Another set of people, transaction can be another block. Okay. Now, all those transactions are now linked together. If you look at the screen now, you will see this cube. They are interconnected, they are chained. Why? That is why you can go online and see the first Bitcoin transaction that was done over 10 years ago, because the first transaction is connected to the second transaction. The second transaction is connected to the third transaction. So there is no way you can delete the record or compromise the record of first transaction that will not affect the second transaction. So everything we are doing is connected, is interconnected. Okay, and thank God for the nodes that makes this possible. Remember, like I said, you can also run a node if you have the resources. All right, and then of course all the blocks are in the are linked together. That's why it's called blockchain, because everything is connected. Everything is connected. All the blocks are interconnected. Okay, and of course each block is verified by nodes. If what you are putting online or your transaction or record of transaction is not genuine, our computer, our nodes will disapprove of it and shut it down. But if it is approved, it will be added to the previous transactions. All right. Benefits of blockchain. Well, number one, security. We've already said it, because it uses secure hash algorithm 256, makes it better secured, and the data seems to be way more protected. Okay, transparency. All transactions are visible. Like I said, if our government can integrate blockchain, we can leverage on these things to protect our data better. And then as individuals, if you are sending digital asset from your friend to yourself, immediately you send it, you can start tracking it. If you send money to me now, let's say you request from my local bank account and you send money to me, or I want to send money to you. If I send it to you, okay, there is no way for me to know whether it has gotten to you until you tell me that you have seen the alert. Even if they tell me that the transaction has been sent, they might tell me the transaction has been sent, and after 3-4 days, you might not have seen the money. It happens a lot. But in the blockchain space, immediately you send something to someone, maybe an NFT, maybe you send a digital asset, maybe a digital coin or anything, you can start tracking it. You even see it when the person has received it in their wallet. Without the person telling you, you will know that the person have seen it. And the person cannot lie that they've not seen it. That transparency is visible to everybody. So it makes trust better. It makes us trust each other better. Okay? Efficiency. Of course, we don't need intermediaries. Once you send me money, I don't need to start calling you. Have you seen it? Or you don't need to start calling your bank that I've sent money to so person and the person have not seen it over the past 37 days. Please, can you look into it? No, you don't need that in the blockchain space. Once you send a digital asset, either money, or NFT or anything, it gets to the recipient and both of you can see it, and there's no need for calling intermediaries. So it reduces the need for intermediaries. Of course, lower cost of transaction. Yes, most network have very cheap transactions unless they are in their peak period. If you are sending transaction on most layer 2 network now, it is extremely cheap. Extremely cheap. Like, let's say you want to send a transaction of that is worth maybe 10K dollars now. You may not even spend up to 0.5, or you may not even spend up to $1 to send that 10K. And imagine you are doing that in your normal bank. They may start telling you that you should go and get this, go and get that, and they will even charge you extra because you are sending that kind of amount of money. Okay. All right. We've gotten to where it is very, very important to pay close attention. For people that are just coming into this space, it is important that you know why you are here. Remember, that was like the second slide. Where do you stand? If you are coming to the blockchain space, the first question or the next question that should be in your mind is, what are the opportunities in this space? Now that I know what blockchain means, how it works, what are the opportunities that are there for me as an individual? So in the blockchain space, we have so many. You can become a blockchain developer. You can build applications that are decentralized applications, that people can use. And as people are using them, you may have your own fees, or you may build it for a company that you are working for. So if you are working for a company as a blockchain developer, you get paid. And if you get paid, that means your life gets better. At least you have something more to work with financially. Even at Blockchain Labs, we also build applications. Okay. We recently launched an application, to make life easier for learners and students. Of course, you can also become a blockchain analyst. Just like we have auditors in the Web2 space, we have analysts in the Web3 space. These are people that they can break down the deepest concepts or transaction complexity in a blockchain, and they will break it down. So companies and organizations, they look for individuals like this that are analysts and they have proper knowledge of data, and they can work in the blockchain space. So the opportunities for them, they can get job, or they can work as a freelance blockchain analyst. All right. Of course, you can also be a legal consultant. Anything that has to do with 2 or more people requires legal compliance. If you are building applications, you are running a business in it's also important to have a legal advisor or a legal consultant. So if you are someone that is coming from the background of the law, this is very, very important for you to leverage on, because you'll be able to advise people, advise them compliance wise, HR wise, and all in the blockchain space. Definitely, you can also become a marketing specialist. Every business or anything you are doing in this life needs, marketing. Okay. So if you are someone that you are so good in marketing, you can bring your skills into the blockchain space. Of course, content. And the word of content, people set ring light, to express their minds, to give reviews about products, services, or to even, they create content about lifestyles and all that. So you can come into the blockchain space as a content creator. You create content for products, services in the space. How a particular application works. The process of creating a wallet. Things that are interesting that will be of value to the larger community in the blockchain space. So definitely, you can also become a designer and animator. This is very essential. You can help brands to speak volume to what they are doing through your design skills and video animation and all that, or product animation. So you can definitely come aboard. Yes. As an educator or trainer, if you are someone that's passionate about training people, that's what we do at Blockchain Labs. Okay, you can always train people, walk them through what blockchain means, explain the concept of blockchain to them so that they can understand better, and then they can also start participating in the blockchain space. So if you are someone that's very good at training people, you can definitely come on board. Yes, this is community moderator rules. There are so many projects out there that they are looking for experienced moderators, people that can help them manage their community either on Telegram or on Discord, right? These are rules that requires someone that understands what blockchain means. And then of course, for this kind of role, you must also go and research about the company you want to work with so that when people come around to ask questions, you'll be able to give them the right information. All right. And then lastly, if you are someone that enjoys, trading and all that, people do trading. There are so many platforms you can trade. There are so many decentralized exchanges. So just do your research, craft your own trading strategy, and put your money, and then you start trading, buying and selling digital assets. Buy low, sell high, buy low, sell high. Don't buy high and sell low, because if you do that, you lose your money unless you are doing perpetual trading. All right. So to round up tonight, the future of blockchain is now, and this is the right time for you to stay positioned and be active. Regardless of whatever skills you have now, you can tap into the global opportunities in the blockchain space. We always tell people at Blockchain Labs that whatsoever you are doing right now, just look inward. You have that skill to start making it in the blockchain space. But remember, you need skills, you need to develop your skills, you need to build connection, you need to understand deeply what blockchain means. Okay, so definitely we've come to an end of tonight's session. This is the fundamental day one session, and then day two is going to be practical. Like, we are going deep into the practical stuff. So you need to come early, you need to pay attention, you need to pay super extreme attention. Some of the things that we've discussed tonight, we are going to be showing you, we are going to be exploring them on chain. We are going to be showing you how this thing works. You will see when people send and how people receive transaction. All right. So thank you so much for your time, and so great to have you here. Thank you so much. We are happy to have you. Of course, you can follow us on our social media handle. We are live on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and X. So you can follow us at Blockchain Labs, and then you can also check us out at blockchainlabs.xyz, where we show you all the things that we do, our trainings, programs, and all. So thank you so much, and it's time for question and answer. All right. So if you have any question, you can unmute your mic.
Okay, good evening. So I want to ask a question concerning the nodes. I
Okay.
want to that the node. How I mean, what type of app? I mean, what type of transaction app does the nodes work with? I'm actually a newbie and I don't quite understand the whole functionality of the node thing. So is it that it works with Binance transaction, and then because you made mention of for example, if you transact on a node, on a computer that has nodes, and then their charges could be like 3 Bitcoin, and which is worth more than hundreds of thousands of dollars. So is it like when someone is transacting on Binance or like Trust or all these cryptocurrency apps on a computer that has node? Is it when someone is transacting on those apps and then they get their own charges from the transaction based on nodes on their computer or something? Because I really do not get that part, if you understand what I'm trying to say.
Yes, definitely. So this is it. See it this way. When you perform transaction within your wallet, within your trust wallet, any wallet that you use, okay, there are some people that make sure those transaction goes through successfully. Let's say you are sending me USDT, right? There are people that immediately you click on send and you send it to my wallet. I send you my wallet address and you paste it and you send it. There is a process that it will pass through before it gets to me. Okay. That process in the background, there are some computers, we call them nodes, that will now program that will verify the transaction through programs. Like it's technical, like there is a way it flows, there's a way it is the transactions are verified. It's just like when you send money from your local bank account, okay? When you send it, your bank will make sure that the recipient gets the money, right? You don't need to know how it gets to the person, but you have the assurance that the recipient will get it, okay? The same thing applies in the blockchain space, but this time around, you can actually see how it goes through. You may not know the individuals that are running those nodes, but you will see that they are helping you to approve those transactions. Now, when you are sending that digital asset, there is a small amount of transaction fee that you've added to it. That transaction fee is what they will get. And apart from the transaction fee, there's something they call miner reward. But it is not all the blockchain that has that. It is only Bitcoin and some of the proof of work blockchain. We are still going to get to that in subsequent classes, okay? But just know that apart from the transaction fee that they are getting, they're also getting miner reward. Now, that miner reward, it is big for Bitcoin because one Bitcoin is over $100,000. But if it is Ethereum now is just, it's not even up to is it up to three around 3 plus? Yes, 3 plus. So those nodes, you can also join them. You can set up the nodes and be earning those transaction fee and miner rewards. You yourself, you can do that, provided that you can buy the resources, the machines, the supercomputers. Remember, it's just a fancy name for computers. Nodes are just fancy name for computers, but they are not like regular laptops that we carry around. They are computers that have fast processors and they are expensive. And apart from being expensive to buy, you also need to run them. You need to maintain them. And that's where data comes in, stable data and stable electricity. So that your system must be online and then be earning reward for you. If your system is down now, it might be the time that it's supposed to earn reward that it is down. So there is no way you are going to get the reward you are supposed to get, either transaction fee or miner reward. So when we normal people in the blockchain space are sending transactions from one wallet to the other, from one account to the other and all that, those supercomputers, those nodes, they are approving those transactions. And they don't process one transaction at a time. They process hundreds of transactions. It can be 50 transactions, it can be 10 transactions in a block. So now imagine per each block, they are getting different transaction fee. So my own transaction fee might be $1. Another person's transaction fee might be $100 because of the volume of what they are sending and what the network is collecting at the moment. So that's how they make their money. So I hope I've answered your question. But if not, please, you can re-ask so that I can make more clarifications.
Yes, you actually threw some light into the aspect I wanted to confirm. And again, I want to ask one other question. The part where you said you made mention during that node explanation then that some Twitter may be the fastest one to receive transaction, and then they get to get the charges. So is it like a survival of the fittest, or does it depend on how fast your computer is or how you set up your computer? Because can't you just like have your own customer, like, okay, I'm focusing on these people, and these people, any transaction they want to make for a day or anytime, they're just my own people, just like P2P on Binance. Like any transaction they want to make on this day is coming to me. Is it like some other person will just come and take that transaction before me? Like, do you understand my
Yeah,
question? Like,
yes, definitely, definitely, definitely.
so
Yes.
can it not
So
be
okay, please proceed.
yes, like, can it not be a fixed customer instead of getting to say, oh, this person will get the transaction before me? It's just like, like forex, like the way whatever they call it drops, and you didn't get your payout and stuff like that. Like, can it not be like a fixed person that, okay, this person's transaction charge, the charges is coming to me because this is my customer, like not someone else coming from nowhere to hijack my customer. So does it depend on the setup of the laptop, or the how high the laptop is, and how they've set the mode on the laptop or something? I don't get that part too.
All right. So it's basically that for instance, let's say Bitcoin. Bitcoin is using proof of work. And that proof of work basically means before you can earn, you must work. All right. The way Bitcoin is designed in such a way that it is designed that you must be productive. You cannot just be somewhere and say, okay, I'm just there. You must show workings. Okay. And then because the value of the reward is something significant, and there is a little reward that comes per block. Okay, at the moment now, every Bitcoin transaction takes an average of 10 minutes, which means if you send me anything on Bitcoin network now, we must both wait for 10 minutes
Mm.
before it gets approved. You understand? Now, in that process of that 10 minutes, all the nodes are competing to be the first to process
Okay.
that transaction. So the fastest computer, that's why those computers are expensive and they varies. So the fastest one gets the reward. Okay. That's
Mm.
one. Number two, some people also, there's something they call targeted transactions. Like you can target a pool or a particular node to help you to process the transaction, because there is a way you can even see the next setup. Because I process it now does not mean I'll still be the one that will process the next batch. It does not work there, so that it will not cheat other people. So I can see the next pool or the next node that may most likely be part of the people that will compete for my transaction, right? I can now, if I want to now target them, I can increase my reward to appreciate them. You understand? So you'll see some of these practical stuffs. We'll see some of these practical stuffs in subsequent session, so that you will see how these transactions flow, because all the transactions are interconnected. It's a chain of blocks, and each block we have several transactions inside. I hope I've been able to answer your question.
Yes, yes, yes. And one last question. Is I'm off mode. Okay, so you mentioned opportunities in blockchain. You made mention of a block. I'm sorry, where did I write this down? Yeah, blockchain developer. So you said you can a blockchain developer can build an app that has to do with Web3 and stuff like that. So does it require you knowing how to code?
Yes, it does, because you must have Web2 knowledge to go into Web3. Remember that we are currently in Web2, but we are just transitioning into Web3. So before you can start saying you want to build Web3, you must learn Web2. It is not that Web2 that
I'm not hearing anything again. Can anyone hear him? Yes, now only me lost.
No, I think the his network is bad or something.
Okay.
You okay? Yeah, let's just wait for him for a few minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. So while you are waiting for him, right, I can just chime in on the question you asked, right?
Okay.
So I think the question is, do you need to know how to code for you to be a blockchain developer?
Yeah.
And the answer is yes. You need to know how to code. Most preferably, you need to already have like some existing knowledge in terms of coding in Web2. That's like the normal traditional coding. Then before you can transition to Web3, right? Because it's much more easier that way. But however, you can still like start from, you can still like start learning from Web3, right? So there is no, how's it called? There's no, it's not like there's a barrier. It's just that it's much more easier for you to move from Web 2 coding to Web 3 as opposed to just starting Web 3 directly. Because, first off, you might not even, you're just learning Web 3, all right? So, you might not even have enough experience to know what you are doing. So, and you're also now learning something new, which is coding too at the same time. So, it can kind of like be modules together. But if you already have like a coding knowledge or you can program a bit, right, it's easier for you to like learn how Web3 works and adapt your coding skills to Web3.
Okay. Thank you very much
Yeah.
for answering the question. So for example, a beginner like me now, like wanting to be a blockchain developer, and I have no prior experience or prior knowledge of coding, even if there are apps that now you can now code like without having prior knowledge, right? Like there are apps now you can use to just do the coding stuff without having prior knowledge now. So that means I can't be a blockchain developer, right?
Yeah. So it's not like I said, it's not like it's impossible to do. I'm just saying that it's a more bigger feat to achieve, right? And I'll now still go into like the aspects that you mentioned now, right? So now there is AI that can, in quote unquote, that can code, right? So you give it a prompt and tell the AI to build X, Y, Z, and to an extent it builds it, right? But if he built that thing now, for instance, if you don't have any knowledge about that thing, there's no way that that information is going to be useful for you. And also in the process of you communicating with the what's it called, with the AI, if you don't have enough knowledge or enough information about what you are asking, there's almost no way you can guarantee 80 to 100% efficiency, because you need to be very explicit with AI, right? You need to give it details. If you don't give it details, you just assume some parts for you. So if you tell it an AI now, like build a website for me that does A, B, C, if you don't tell it to put to use red color as the background or use this color or do this, do that, if you are not very detailed, it's just going to do the easiest thing, or it's just going to come up with something that is very easy, right? It's not going to really stress itself. It might come up with a shabby like implementation and colors that maybe you probably don't like, and also maybe a logo that is not yours, for instance, right? So now if it comes up with that, if you know how to code, you can take that information and rework on it, right, and correct it if need be. But if you don't know about it, there's no way you can do it, and you just keep trying to tell the AI to do something, but maybe you're not telling it to do it correctly, or maybe the AI is not even trained for it, right? So you might hit a lot of roadblocks. That's why even though there is AI, it's advisable that you know what you are doing, or you, to an extent, understand what you are doing, but you just want to be fast, right? So let's say, for instance, now, um, you want to write an essay or you want to do something, you know how to do it, but you just feel that it's going to take time for you to do it. So you can just tell the AI to give you like a first draft of it. Then you go ahead and probably edit it or whatnot. Yeah. It's different from you don't know anything about that thing and you just feed it to the AI and the AI gives you a response, right? If you submit it and you get 50 out of 100, maybe you didn't, the AI missed out some things. That's on you because you did not like cross check upon what the AI did, right? So AI is wonderful, but it doesn't replace the process of actually learning to do something. It should be like more of like a productivity tool, not like a tool to uh, not like you don't know anything about website, how to build website, how to deploy websites or mobile apps, for instance, and you just go and be collecting jobs and say you can build a website, you can build bank app, you can build anything, just because there's one AI that you feel that can do it.
Yes,
Yeah. So
I
that's why we say that, yeah, that's why we say that it's advisable you learn the Web2 first when you have like ground knowledge about it. You don't need to know everything, just like the basics. Like, for instance, you know your HTML, CSS, JavaScript for the web part, then you preferably know like one programming language at least. Then you don't need to be able to like build crazy stuff with Web2 just to know it. Then when you're moving to Web3, you can now start reflecting or start piecing that knowledge to something you already know. Right? Because to learn is easier if you have a reference point in learning. So if somebody is trying to tell you about blockchain and they're using bank transaction, for instance, for you, you know, there's something you can relate with in your mind that, oh, okay, bank transaction, bank transfer, okay, you understand. But if there's nothing you can relate with, the person would have to like take more time in explaining it. So that's why I say it's preferable. But like for me, I've seen a lot of people that have started with that don't know anything about coding and they started with Web3 and
I'm
somehow,
not
somehow. Can you hear me?
coding. Yeah, I can hear you clearly, but I'm not coding. I wanted to actually chip in something. So
Oh,
I'm not
okay,
even
okay, okay. Got it. Okay, that's fine.
even if I want to go into the developing parts, I'm not going to be coding. I don't care about coding. So I'm trying to say, for example, now I've worked with a logistic company that they're into logistic and they try to build their app themselves. So I was their scrum master. So I'm talking about, for example, now if you want to, for example, now I feel like okay, this web3 thing, this web3 blockchain thing is not yet um like it's not yet everywhere, it's not popular like that. I know it is coming up, but it's not yet very very popular. It's not what most people are doing right now. So for example, I'm saying if I want to write a proposal and I want to come up with a team, I want to, I get to know a lot about this blockchain thing. Even after these classes, I get to learn on my own, make more research, and I feel like okay, I think I know about this blockchain enough, and I want to build a app. So I'm saying I could be like a scrum master, and I could like, you know, look for someone that would that knows coding, do the developing stuff like that, the graphic design, the front end developer, the back end developer, and stuff like that. So I'm saying, is that possible? I'm not talking. I'm not going to code. I don't want to code. I don't care about the coding part. I'm just saying like
Yeah,
bring the idea,
yeah, that's
to life.
yeah.
Can be like push it to people to like okay, come and I have something that would be of good thing in the future and it will interest every one of us. I'm looking for a back-end developer, I'm looking for a front-end developer, a graphic designer and stuff like that. Is that possible?
Yes, that's very possible. You don't need to know like how to do it, like in terms of coding, right? You just need to have your idea and also like have an idea of what the ecosystem is, which is Web3, which is the training we are doing. So you just need an introductory knowledge of Web3 to expose your mind to think about ideas in relation to Web3. Okay, when they're teaching concepts on Web3 now, you can just think about something. Oh, this thing, I think we can do it. You just need your idea. Then once you have your idea, you can now go in search of like people that can help implement it for you. So yes, definitely you don't need anybody, or you
Mm.
don't need to be able to like code you or know Web2 or anything. You just need your idea and people to help you build it.
Yeah, thank you. I think that's just the question for me. Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, any other question before we call it a
All
day?
right. Thank you so much. That was a very lovely one from Sheyi. Thank you so much for um adding more clarification to it. So we are going to be touching more practical stuff, which is also going to be helping us to have more idea and deeper understanding of how all this thing works in the Web3 space. So we've come to the end of tonight's day one training, and it's a wrap. It's a wrap. It's good to have you, everyone. Rachel, Shay, AY. Thanks for coming around, guys, and hope we've all learned one or two things. So, guys, it's time to just go and take a rest, or you want to go and see what is happening in the blockchain space. For now, we've been hearing so many things. So, guys, the blockchain space is always filled with activities every day, dramas, opportunities, and all that. But we are here for everything. So, guys, thanks for coming around, and see you all tomorrow for day two. Have a lovely night rest. Bye.
Bye. Thank you. Good night.
Night.
Good enough.